Alright, we're live. So, in the spirit of trying different things, pending further EDH decks, I thought I'd just ramble a bit while I sleeve this deck. So this is the Galadriel Elven-Queen deck, Lord of the Rings precon, and apparently it's the worst one. I no longer hold that opinion. So what happened is I bought 2 cases, 8 total Lord of the Rings Commander decks, 2 sealed cases. My plan was to sell one, and then sell 2 of the decks from the other, sell the Sauron deck and the Humans deck, in order to keep the Food and Fellowship for free and give my friend the Elven Council deck, basically the deck I have now. So what happened is this deck wasn't selling, and I was reading where it's really not that great of a deck. And as with the Food and Fellowship deck that I kept, I went on MTG Goldfish. I forget its name. I really should have looked up its name before starting this video. But if you Google LOTR MTG Goldfish, there's a guy that's had enough time to go through the decks, go through Lord of the Rings, the full set, and recommend changes, recommend in-set modifications deck to upgrade it. As with the Food and Fellowship deck, this Lord of the Rings deck will not be commingled with my other Commander collection. It will retain its own flavor. It will stay Lord of the Rings, because I just don't like mixing Universes Beyond with regular Magic card. It's completely arbitrary, and I fully admit that, but that's what I'm sticking to. So anyway, some of the changes that he recommended, I started goldfishing this when I still had it in the perfect fit sleeves before I started doing this. It's a lot of fun. Oh, holy crap. Every turn you're scrying. Once you get a few of the legendary creatures that scry, once you get Galadriel down, you're just scrying like mad. And every time you scry, you'll have some kind of decision to make. You'll have something to do. When the ring tempts you, of course, with Galadriel, you either put a +1/+1 encounter on your ring bearer, or you draw a card. So either way, and the person doing the recommendations said, in his opinion, that's a weak ability. But when I was just playing around with it, testing the draws, seeing how the mana curve is, I went down to 37 lands from the 38 that were originally in there. Yeah. Every turn, it seemed, I could play another elf, and then I could trigger the Will of the Council ability on Galadriel. So whenever beginning combat, if another elf entered the battlefield under your control, everybody votes for Dominion or Guidance. I'm really curious to see how this works in practice with live players, and I might do that tonight. So anyway, this deck looks like a fun. So I foiled out the lands, the basic lands, as I did with the Food and Fellowship. I chose this forest because the other one is in the Food and Fellowship. I like my Commander decks to have a unique look and feel. So none of my Commander decks have the same basic lands as another one. If at all possible, I change out shock lands, I change out fetch lands. Of course, with 15 Commander decks, it's a bit more difficult to do that, but since I don't have too many duplicates of the colors, it's not impossible. Especially with them reprinting so many shock lands. Fetch lands is a bit more difficult when it comes to that. But it's pretty good. This is something Lignify So creature becomes a tree folk, loses all the abilities, and just becomes a base 0/4. He recommended taking this out. Thinking of the environment I'm going to be playing in, a buddy of mine has the Eldrazi precon, and he's tweaked the hell out of it. It's an absolute beast. So this will take care of Ulamog. This will take care of Kozilek. No, no damn Annihilator for you. Because often, not to brag, but I am one of the better players. So usually I'm one of the people that's gone after first. This one's pretty cool. I like it. So 6 for 6/6 Trampler. Back in the old days, back Mirage, this would have been a house. Wow. It's efficient and it tramples great, because we're doing things like Force in Nature. You pay 8 for an 8/8 Trampler. You have to pay 4 during your upkeep, or it smashes you in the face. Yeah. So what else? Erestor. Erestor is who he actually recommended. The lad on MTG Goldfish. He recommended Erestor as the commander for this deck. So whenever players finish voting, everybody who voted for you, every opponent voted for choice you voted for, creates your treasure token, then you scry. There's not a whole lot of voting cards in here, so I don't see Erestor as really being that great of a choice for the commander. For me, it's Galadriel. Elvish Warmaster. I would like to see this guy printed in a regular set, so only 2. And then who was I thinking of as the other guy? Galadriel, the lieutenant, because when he comes into play you pay X and you get that many elf warriors. But I mean, this guy's alright. He's cheap, he's a 2/2. Whenever one or more elves in the battlefield, you create a 1/1 green elf. Only once per turn, but this is, I mean, it's there. Azuri is a lot more efficient. You spend, I believe it's 3, and they all get +2/+2. I don't think another ability, I forget. But I can easily look it up because I have Azuri in my elf deck. So tonight, looking forward to seeing if this works in practice as well as it does when I'm just messing around with it. The sleeves are Dragon Shield. Normally I steer away from Dragon Shield because of an incident that happened to me 10 years ago. 10 years ago I bought a full case of Dragon Shield. And the sleeves, so as I opened each box, they started getting cut further and further down the sleeve, like the blade just went and just started slicing in you could line up the sleeves and you would see just this slope as the right corner is just cut deeper and deeper and deeper out the sleeves. I was not happy with that box. Not happy at all. I don't remember if I complained or not. I don't remember what I did, but since that incident I didn't buy any Dragon Shield unless there was no other option. But these seem to be alright. This island, so there are 2 options for island with Lord of the Rings art. And this one in the picture, when I was ordering them from my LDS Trinity Tige, I like this one better, but looking at it now, that's not an island, that's a river. I mean, maybe there's an island in the background, but to me that looks more like a river than an island. Can I get a good picture? Probably not. Yeah, screw it. Let's keep going. So, something else I've been thinking of is kind of the future of the game. Financial aspects. I get a lot of my, well, almost all my finance news, finance considerations from Rudy at Alpha Investments, and actually I don't think I know his first name, but MTG Moxman. MTG Moxman is great for keeping up on things. His top 10s are really nice because I can, okay, these are the top 10 reserve list cards this week. Are there any I'm missing that I want, that I forgot about, fell out of the back of my head? And if so, are they at a price point that interests me, that I want to spend the money and pick them up? So that's why I watch him, to kind of keep current on that. Rudy I watched because he goes into deeper detail. He goes into why opening an LGS is a stupid idea in one of his videos in great detail, that you watch and you think, yeah, opening LGS is not a good idea. And I can second that. When I, bloody hell, when I did my bachelor's degree in business, I decided to, the final assignment was to write a full business plan, write all the pages for a business plan. So I wrote the business plan for a LGS. At the end of it, I was going to, if I had actually gone through with the LGS plan, some months my profit, the money I would have had to pay myself, and these are optimistic projections, mind you, it would have been less, was $700 US. Barely cover rent and food. The only month where I would be making, projected, of course, over 1,000 would be Christmas. But every other month, $700 to $1,100 US, and that's just not enough to really have a good life. I would be living for the LGS, and so I didn't want that. And Rudy goes into more detail with even more considerate things I didn't even think of. Theft. I didn't think of theft. I didn't think of shrinkage. None of that when I did the business plan. It's not a good idea. As an aside, so as with the Food and Fellowship, the other thing I did with this deck, anything that was printed in the Lord of the Rings set, I bought foil copies. So I've got foil Galadriel Lothlorien, and she's great. Whenever the ring tempts me, choose a creature other than her. And in playtesting, I kept choosing Galadriel Elven-Queen as my ring bearer. So she would get bigger and bigger, starts as a 4 or 5. And then, of course, you scry 3 every time you do that. This deck, it feels kind of like a vintage deck because I'm scrying so much. And here we go. Mirror of Galadriel, foil because it was printed the full set. So I was going through the top of my library with scry even more than I go through the top of my library with the spells in my vintage deck. And of course my vintage decks are powered by China. But anyway, back to Moxman and Rudy. One of the biggest divergences I see in them is their outlook for the future of the game via the sealed product. Both of them agree that the game itself is not going to die. And every so often there's this mad zeitgeist, the game is dying, sell out now while you can. Sell out to me, of course. So Moxman says his take is sealed product, whereas a few years ago you could sit on it for 2 to 3 years, maybe 5. Now you're going to have to sit on it for 10. And it's not really a good idea to buy sealed product if you're looking at it as an investment. Rudy is just the opposite because that's his business. Buying mass pallets of every product that is pumped out. Oh yeah, Swan Song, so the most expensive reprint. One thing I would do with this deck, if I did mix it with my other cards, regular magic cards, is put in more counter spells. But I don't have that option. I need to get an Arcana now for the deck. That's the last counter spell available that I don't have. So anyway, Rudy's take on it is it's still a good idea. You're not going to get the easy money. You're not going to flip it in 2 days and make make super profits immediately like people were doing a few years ago. But he still recommends it. Personally, I have 20 boxes of sealed product. Oh, my battery's going to die. Great. Okay, so I have to stop this, charge the battery, and start again. I'll see you in a few minutes.